Hello, ICW Maniacs! I am the administrator of the ICW message board, Robert Lottie, with a DVD review, a nice blast from the past. And this particular show was titled Reborn. This event took place back on March 19th, 2010. And it was a very significant event because it was ICW's first show after practically hibernating for nearly 7 years. And it was the very first ICW event held at the Queensboro Elks Lodge next to the Madhouse of Extreme Elks Lodge, which ICW and many promotions as well ran in there up until the early 2000s. The event begins with Jack Sabbath, the founding father of ICW, comes to the ring, welcomes the crowd, thanks them for coming, and he announces some matches that had already been set for the next show that was coming after this one. But then he's interrupted by Danny DeMonto and Tammy Sitch, a.k.a. Sonny, and Danny gets the microphone and he says to Jack, back in 2001 when this company started, he says, I used to set up the ring, I used to help set up the chairs, I admit it. You see, Jack, back then, I was your bitch. But now it's 2010, and, he made Jack leave the ring, and eventually Jerry Lynn comes out. He does a promo, and Danny says, hey, just like Jack, get out of the ring. And eventually, bringing out to Steven DeAngelis, he says, this match is happening right now, and Danny DeMonto went one-on-one with the new effing show, Jerry Lynn. In the early going of the match, they were doing the classic crisscross, where they're like running the ropes, and Jerry eventually steps out of the ring, and Danny continues to running until he gets winded. Eventually, Jerry grabbed Danny's legs and posted him. It was between the legs. He was posted on the ring post, and Jerry eventually got back in the ring, clotheslines Danny to the floor, and then it seemed like Danny hurt his knee, and the referee and Jerry as well. They're trying to help Danny to the back, but it was all a swerve as Danny knocked Jerry down with a clothesline. They come back into the ring. Danny puts Jerry in an arm bar, some type of rest hold arm bar. Danny asks for the microphone and decides to have a little impact karaoke as he was singing Bon Jovi, the chorus of Bon Jovi's "Living on a Prayer," and he had put the microphone to Jerry for the "oh" part, as Danny still had the arm bar on. At one point, Danny had positioned Jerry in the corner and teased the Shattered Dreams kick to the groin. Instead, it was the old thumb in the eye, seemingly, or eye poke. Danny eventually hits a lariato. He then missed the somersault leg drop from the apron. Jerry attempted the cradle pile driver, but Danny countered. I forgot how Danny countered that one, but he countered that one. Jerry did not hit the cradle pile driver. Danny missed a moonsault from the top rope, and then Jerry takes down a small package and gets the 3 count. After the match, Tammy, she attempts the low blow, but Jerry blocks it, and then Danny attacks Jerry from behind. Then out come the heavy hitters, Monster Mac and the late Havoc. They hit the ring, and the 3 of them leave Jerry laying as Danny and the hitters left the ring area, as well as Tammy. Up next was match was presented by Women's Superstars Uncensored, as Spirit Champion Brittany Savage went one-on-one with their heavyweight champion at the time, Mercedes Martinez, and I think it was a title versus title matchup. The early going of the match, Mercedes was hit an onslaught on Brittany. Brittany eventually gets the advantage and hits Mercedes with the stroke, which is Jeff Jarrett's finisher. Eventually Mercedes regains advantage, and hits a Yakuza kick in the corner. Brittany hits a lung blower slash backcracker slash backstabber, whatever you want to call that, double knee to the back move. Brittany also hit a Stone Cold. I think Mercedes went for a German suplex. Brittany countered that with a Stone Cold Stunner, followed by an Ace Crusher. Brittany got her hands on the Spirit Belt, and she accidentally hits referee Brett Lauderdale with it. Mercedes had seemingly, I forgot she used the Fisherman Buster or another move that she's known for as a finisher, and another referee came to the ring and made a 3 count, and it looked like Mercedes Martinez was now a double champion, but Lauderdale gets up and he tells the referee who made 3 count, no, this is, no, you know, I'm the referee put assigned for this match. Brittany hit me with the belt, she's disqualified, and Mercedes Martinez had won the match, but not the Spirit Championship. So in other words, it was just a finish, if you will. Next up was a 3-way match, which once I heard the announcement of this match, I was very happy for this. It was the new horror, Sami Callihan versus Devin Moore. Oh, Devin Moore, I'm sorry. Not Devin Storm, who we know as Crowbar. Devin Moore and Quiet Storm. Right before Storm was the last one to come out, and before he hits the ring, Callihan attacks him. They're brawling on the floor. Devin Moore hits a dive on the floor to both men. Storm hit, he gave Callihan a Northern Lights suplex. Devin did the top rope blockbuster on Callihan, which was Buff Bagwell's finisher. Storm put the stretcher on Sami Callihan, and I think he also put his legs around Sami's head, so he was like twisting him like a pretzel, really stretching him. Sami hits a nice top rope drop kick on Storm. Wow. Damn, Devin. I forgot. Storm eventually gives a brain buster on Devin Storm. No, I'm sorry, Devin Moore. I'm messing up, I know. Storm puts the figure 4 leg lock on one of them while he put a crossface on the other. I forgot who took it. Again, I watched this again 2 days ago, folks, so I can't remember everything. Eventually, Storm hits his Storm Cradle Driver. I forgot it was on Callihan, but I don't think he got pinned. Eventually, Devin Moore hits the Shooting Star Press on Callihan and got the win for this matchup. That was a lot. Then up next was a 6-way TLC match, seemingly. As the winner of this match would get to face the Amazing Red later in the show. As we saw VSK versus EJ Risk versus Justin Toxic versus Bruno Marciano versus Damian Dragon versus Bandito Jr. This was seemingly like a spot fest, and no disrespect to these 6 men. Bruno hit an exploder suplex on Risk on a ladder. Justin Toxic ate a Doomsday body press, I think from VSK and Risk. Damian hit Toxic with the sliced bread number 2, which I think he called Route 666. Bandito I think he did the sliding ladder onto Bruno. I forgot, maybe I messed up on that. Bruno powerbombed Toxic while Toxic was superplexed VSK, and as a result, Toxic and VSK were eliminated from the match. They both went through that table. EJ Risk pins Bruno with a Hurricane Rana. Damian Dragon made Risk tap out to Conan's submission to Tequila Sunrise. And the end came when Bandito Jr. hit a top rope Death Valley driver on Damian Dragon to pin him and earn the right to face the Amazing Red later in the show. Next up was a three-way tag team matchup as we saw the combination of Heaven and Hell, Azrael and the Grim Reaper, to battle with All Money is Legal, K Murda and K Pusha, and the SAT, Joel and Jose Maximo. K Pusha from All Money is Legal later went by the name Coolie K. Well, usually with three teams like this, you know, it's just a great, it was just great. Joel put the sharpshooter on K Murda. Murda hit the Booker T axe kick on Azrael. SAT did a double team dive on, I think, everybody. Grim Reaper suplexed K Pusha to the floor. That suplexer neck breaker and ended up on the top rope. SAT give Reefer the Doomsday DDT. K Pusha hit a top rope X Factor where he leaped in the air and he caught, I forgot who it was. Eventually SAT hit K Murda with the Spanish Fly. Jose Maximo hit, I guess, the Powerbomb Lung Blower combination on the Grim Reaper. Azrael hits a low blow on Joel. Azrael ended up pinning Joel with a tilt-a-whirl schoolboy, enabling Heaven and Hell to gain the victory. But after the match, the heavy hitters come out attacking Heaven and Hell until Jerry Lynn came out and made the save. Next, we were set to see the Bayonne Badass Dan Moff in singles action, and he takes the microphone and he says that ICW had been around before there were other companies. Well, it is true. ICW was around before Ring of Honor, before AEW, before Impact Wrestling, and many other independents that have sprouted along the way. And Moff, I guess, issued a challenge, and out comes Prince Nana, and he's on the microphone, and I think he was accompanied to the ring by Ernie Osiris, who was I think he was part of Nana's embassy in Ring of Honor. And Nana introduces someone, and it's none other than, he said, the arrogant all-star or the arrogant superstar Rob Fury. Not to be confused with SWF promoter Rob Fury. What boggles my mind, Rob Fury, who was introduced by Prince Nana, he comes out and he's slapping hands with the crowd. I mean, I thought what the heck? I thought he's a heel. He's a heel and he's slapping hands with the crowd in the front row. The match was on, and Fury, he was doing the 10 punch on Moff in the corner, but Moff eventually Moff grabbed Fury, and Fury's face hit the turnbuckle. Moff eventually buckle bombed Fury, hits a cannonball in the corner, gives Fury a Ultimate Warrior press slam, then hits a standing moonsault and pins him. But Nana then says, "Hey, I got somebody else for you," and he introduces Maximus Sex Power, who, for those who don't know, he was known as El Shoes. He was the heel commentator in the early years of ICW. And he comes to the ring and he takes the microphone, he's got a robe on, and he does the ravishing Rick Rude shtick. God rest Rick Rude's soul. You know, he wants the fans to quiet down while he takes his robe off and shows off his body. He takes off the robe, does the Rick Rude hip swivel, only to eat a huge gladiator from Dan Moff. And Moff positions Maximus on the top rope, chops him in the back, and he's trying to rack him up for the burning hammer. But Maximus is hanging onto the top rope, and then he escapes Moff's grasp, and he says to the referee, "I quit, I give up." Instead of, doing that, why didn't you just have him just run away or leave the ring and just get counted out? That makes no logical sense to me. And then Nana says he has one more person from Moff And it was none other than the all-around best Xavier, rest his soul. Now, eventually, Xavier comes out, and by this point, Xavier had mostly been doing MMA competition. Even his gear showed it. Moff and Xavier went out to the floor, and Moff like took Xavier's head and he put his face into a fan's shoe or foot. The fan had his foot on the leaning on the guardrail. Eventually, Xavier hit El Paso del Muerte, which was the finishing move El Matador. Tito Santana used after he became El Matador. Xavier had put a guillotine choke on Moff and then turned into a triangle choke, and then Moff powered out of it with a short power bomb where he gets him up and drops him. Xavier hits the Kiss Your Ex Goodbye, which was a pump handle into an X Factor type move, face buster. Eventually, Nana comes on the apron. He accidentally hits Xavier. And then Moff gives Xavier the Kobashi Plex and hits him with a lariato and pins him to win the match. But then all of a sudden, Rob Fury, Nana, Maximus Sex Power, and Ernie Osiris, they all hit the ring, and they're all multiple teaming, quadruple teaming, quintuple teaming. Moff rams, I think Fury and Sex Power into Ernie Osiris or into Nana, and then Moff gets a hold of Rob Fury and drops him with the Burning Hammer. And Nana eventually, before leaving, Nana says, "Moff, it isn't over." Then it was main event time, as Bandito Jr., by virtue of winning a 6-way earlier in the show, went one-on-one with the Amazing Red, and just as the match is getting underway, out comes the New Age Punisher, B-Boy, and it became a triple threat match. B-Boy hit B-Boy hit a sick DDT on Bandito Jr. Bandito hit a wheelbarrow into a DDT. Red and Bandito both hit dives to the floor. Red hits Bandito with a missile drop kick. Bandito used a backbreaker on Red. Red did a twisting flatline on B-Boy. There was a 3-way slugfest between them. B-Boy gives Red the Tiger Bomb, or Pearl River Plunge, however you want to say it. B-Boy hits Bandito with the Shiny Wizard, but Bandito kicks out. Red hits the Code Red on B-Boy. B-Boy kicks out, but then Red gives the Red Star Press to B-Boy, which is the standing shooting star press, and pins him to win the match, enabling Amazing Red to defeat B-Boy and Bandito Jr. to end a great night of wrestling. And 2010 really went on to be a great year for ICW, and it proved that they were back at that time. Some notes of this show that I forgot to mention. Of course, the SAT always managed to put on great matches. I don't think anyone has ever can say they've seen a bad SAT match. Luminaries in attendance for this one were Larry Legend. Larry Legend was in attendance for this one. The late Paul Rose, fan that was known for yelling, "Give it to him!" or "Give it to her!" He was at this event. Scott Barron, who I met at NYWC about a year prior to this show. And Larry saw myself and fellow NYWCite Jamie outside before the crowd was let in. I was sitting next to Erica Knack for this event. Also, let me see. Who else I remember seeing there that night? How could I forget? Jack Sabbath, the man who started ICW. Wow. But in any event, it was a very good show back at the time. I never did a recap of it back then, but definitely this was. I kind of like it kind of set the tone for the way the rest of 2010 turned out for ICW. So, and basically, this show basically introduced ICW to a whole new generation of fans. Because how many fans knew about that first discovered ICW in 2010 didn't know about it back in the early 2000s? But definitely was a great show, and hopefully I will have more DVD reviews in the past. ICW, ICW, ICW.